I leveled from 98 to 100 in just a few hours last night, and you can too, thanks to a combination of the amazingly powerful Necropolis League mechanic and some redesigned scarabs. Hi, it's Lerald, and I'm going to talk about how to farm hundreds of millions of XP per hour, potentially billions of XP per hour when you're still below level 98. It's all pretty quick and simple, but before I do, don't forget to like and subscribe. Alright, let's just talk about the goal here. This isn't a currency strategy, I wasn't worried about that, I was only trying to focus on farming XP quickly. I did still make currency though. I think I made about 15 divines or so in the span of doing this, and I farmed a ton of corpses just to show that off here. I have a couple of empty tabs here in this folder, but then corpses, just, I mean, so many corpses. I'm so glad that they've capped this at 64 in the Necropolis. I got a lot of corpses. I'm definitely going to be able to do some crafting. So I did actually turn a profit doing this. That wasn't the point, but it was still profitable in the end. The point was XP, and in terms of how much XP I got, I was getting over 200 million XP per hour while going from level 99 to 100, about 2.5% of a level per map in that range, and substantially more at lower levels. I mean, literally over 1 billion an hour when I was like level 97. So the best way to farm XP in maps is to kill lots and lots of dudes, and to do that with XP bonuses. And the best XP bonus in the game comes from this scarab right here, Domination Scarab of Teachings. It makes it so that shrine buffs give you a 30% increase to XP gained, and that stacks based on the number of shrine buffs you have. It doesn't count lesser shrines, so shrines that are spawned from killing monsters with the Necropolis buff affecting them, or like wearing the Gull, that won't do anything for you, but just on its own, if you have 10 shrine buffs, you're getting 300% increased XP gains. I didn't put this in my notes, but if you want to level some gems in your offhand, that's probably a good way to really extract a lot more profit out of this as well. Now, in terms of whether this is fun, I found it to be very, very fun. Domination Shrines are probably the closest feeling you get to wearing a headhunter in the game, other than just actually wearing a headhunter. If you've never had a headhunter and you want to have that experience, now is the best time to buy one. They're cheaper than they've ever been, but if you really want to experience that power spike on a budget, stacking a ton of Domination Shrines into your maps is a pretty good substitute. It's like craving a delicious hamburger and having Burger King instead. It's not perfect, but it is close enough. So let's talk about the setup and so on. Shrines add a ton of monsters and a ton of power, and so dying becomes a lot harder once you have that snowball kind of rolling, and that's important here because not dying is crucial. There are some things you can do to help with that. The main one is to buy several of these, Omens of Amelioration. When I was buying them, they were priced, some were very cheap, but maybe not actually available to buy. I think I bought pretty much all of these for about 40 chaos each, which is not too bad. The goal is to not use any of these, and I didn't on the jump from 98 to 99. I didn't die a single time, and then 99 to 100, I used a few of them. There is quite a bit more as well. Oh, one thing I do want to mention before I move on is that these things, omens, as you see there, each player can only consume one omen in each combat area. So if you die in an area and you put another omen in your bag and you die in that area again, it will not work. You will lose a full 10% of the accrued XP toward the next level. I had that experience because I forgot. So let's take a look at the rest of the scarabs that I was using. Obviously, Domination Scarabs of Teachings is compulsory. You need this for the XP bonus. And then I just went ahead and used 3 Domination Scarabs for the majority of the time I was going. Now, these are being used in some currency farming strategies, and they've actually become a little pricey, so I think there are some good alternatives. I like Domination Scarabs. For one, you know, it's more buffs available. It's also adding more packs. So I do think if you're not worried about currency at all, you can just do 1 Teaching Scarab and then 3 Domination Scarabs and you're good to go. Your alternatives are Scarab of Hunted Traders. That'll add a ton of monsters into the maps, and they do give XP. And if we were using Beyond, which we'll get to in the Atlas passive tree, but if you're using Beyond, it's a lot more guys to spawn beyond portals. You can also use Incursion Scarabs of Invasion. I found these added a lot of guys into maps. You know, an extra 12 to 16 packs is really, really good. So you could use these as well just to add more monsters in. That helps with spawning beyond. You could also use Scarabs of Monstrous Lineage, although I think these have seen a little bit of a price increase, maybe. Maybe not, but Incursion Scarabs of Invasion and Hunted Traders are both super, super cheap. And then you could also potentially use Influencing Scarab of Hordes, although I think, again, these are one that maybe have seen a bit of a price increase. So I mainly compared just running like pure Domination Scarabs and then like 2 Domination Scarabs, 1 Teachings, and a Hunted Traders. Those were the main things I compared, and I didn't see a substantial difference in XP gain. It was around the same. It was like a little above or below 200 million XP per hour in the 99 to 100 range. So I didn't really feel like there was a big difference between them. So that means, if you're wanting to save a little money, makes sense to run 2 Domination Scarabs and a Hunted Traders. One other thing I want to point out here, just so to head off any questions, the Domination Scarab of Abnormality adds 1 shrine, and it adds either a Resonating Shrine or a Gloom Shrine. Now, Resonating Shrine just basically gives you random charges. It's sort of like Ralakash's Impatience, but as a shrine. Gloom Shrine is basically the Occultist Ascendancy as a shrine. It gives you explosions on death, and it does add a shrine, so potentially you could run this instead of one of your Domination Scarabs, and that might be cheaper for you as well. I'm pretty sure that these are like 1 chaos in bulk, whereas the Domination Scarabs are quite a bit more. So that is an option as well. You do lose 1 shrine, but then you potentially gain a Gloom Shrine that can actually speed up your clear and maybe make you kill more monsters more quickly. Now, one thing I will say is these Teaching Scarabs have actually gotten kind of expensive. They were basically 1 chaos in bulk before I started doing this strategy, like several days before, and I had this epiphany, like, oh, you know what, I should do this and get to level 100. It just kind of occurred to me that this is something to look into, see how much XP I could get, and then I was kind of blown away by it. But by the time I decided I wanted to actually buy some of these bad boys, they were up to like 9 scarabs per divine. So, they're actually fairly common. I got a lot of them while doing this strategy. So I think that farming them and selling them could be a legitimate money-making strategy, like a really, really good one. But it did mean that there was like somewhat of a currency cost in actually running this. All right, now let's take a look at the Atlas passive tree here. And as you can see, I've taken all of the Necropolis stuff. I've taken the increased Embers, and I have gotten tons of Allflame Embers. As you can see here, my Necropolis locker is almost completely full. It's also very full in this tab that I've had to fill up with a bunch of extra Embers, and I've been just not picking up a lot of Embers that I didn't care for, like some of the Rog and Gwynin guys. I'm not picking those up. I'm not picking up Sulfite Embers. I don't care about that. A lot of very low value Embers that I've been just kind of walking past, and even still just completely overflowing with them. I also obviously took all of the shrine nodes, every single one, including the small passives that just increase like your shrine duration or shrine effect. Now the effect won't increase the amount of XP you gain, but it does increase the effect of the shrines, and the shrines are pretty strong, and they really do help with clear speed and tankiness, and that is important for not dying. So you want all of the shrine nodes. You don't have to take Covetous Shrines. You could not take that. Like, that does make it a little bit more increased damage taken on you, a little bit more scary, but, also a bit more rewarding. As you'll see here, we've taken the whole top hat. We're taking as much increased map mod effect as we can afford. We can't get this little 2-point arm here. And the reason for that is that increasing map mod effect does make maps more dangerous. Like, you really do need to be careful with the mods you're rolling on your maps. Like, you don't want to have minus max shreds. You don't want to have reduced effect of non-curse auras. Those are very bad. But it does increase the pack size on the maps, which means more guys to kill, which means more XP. So you really do want that. It is a bit of a risk and reward. There's a gamble in juicing up the maps with as many guys and kind of dangerous guys so that they'll give you more XP. But then also you have to not die. So in addition to the shrine stuff, in addition to all the extra map effect, I just took scarabs because I like scarabs. I also wanted to farm up a bunch of corpses, and as you saw earlier, I farmed in an absolutely ungodly amount of corpses. I did try to skew them toward modifier tier and meta crafting outcomes, and then just as many as I can. I actually think this point right here, an honest job, might actually be good. Getting just like constantly consuming corpses for life and mana every time you pick up a corpse. I actually think that could be really good for keeping you sustained. Basically, it's like an extra rejuve shrine. Didn't really think about that until just now. And then finally I thought, like, okay, what's another mechanic that I could put on here? So in the past, Metamorph, before it was removed, was a great source of extra experience. It added a ton of experience if you took all the points for it, but that is gone. Let's see what else. Beyond used to be, but that was removed in this patch. So that's kind of gone. I've always thought of Harbinger as a really good leveling mechanic. Blight is probably the best. It just stacks, like, literally it can stack 1,000+ monsters into a single area, and you can use towers to kill them, so that's a really, really good way to farm XP, but it is kind of slow and time consuming, and by the time you've gotten through the whole Blight, all of your shrine buffs will have fallen off, so that doesn't really work for this. And then the only things that are really left that actually give XP bonuses are this tiny little bonus from Ultimatum, which that's, you know, like, I don't know, doing Ultimatum to increase your XP gain is like very counterintuitive. It's so counterintuitive, I can't even think of an analogy. So the only other thing that's left is Abyss, and I hate Abyss, so I didn't want to do it. I don't like Abyss. I did enough of it last league. I had no interest. So you could consider doing Abyss, but the point requirement to really get Abyss working is gargantuan, and I think that it totally offsets any sort of benefits that Abyss would provide. Another consideration was Delirium, just like taking Unending Nightmare and forcing Delirium mirrors so that you would have Delirium everywhere. I don't like Delirium. It's ugly and gray and and it's very dangerous. So I thought that also seemed kind of counterintuitive. I do think you could use Delirium, potentially level quite a bit faster, even than I already was, but you know, the risk for that reward is very high. So ultimately I went with Beyond Demons. I'm not juicing them in any way. I'm not really doing anything to make them more rewarding other than taking this 1 point here, Fiendish Opulence. I did get a little bit of currency out of them, but mainly I'm just taking all of these little nodes that'll increase the chance to get them to spawn. And we do have 100% chance for maps to attract Beyond Demons. So we have Beyond Demons in every single map. So, you know, our maps are pretty full of guys. Allflame Embers are also a really important thing here. I believe I used all of the Untainted. Yeah, I'm pretty confident I used all of those, so I will just have to pull up the trade site here and kind of show those off. So if you look up Allflame Embers of Untainted blank, there's all kinds of different Untainted monsters, and these are from the Untainted Paradise unique map that you can only get from Kirak missions that gives you up to 500% increased XP. And you can just buy these Allflame Embers of Untainted, insert monster type. All of them are basically the same. You can buy these from people. You want to make sure that you buy them at item level 83. That's crucial. You know, they're about 10 chaos, and that was probably the worst part of this whole mechanic. I bought all of these one at a time. If you combine this with the Necropolis League mechanic on your map device that increases either like monster pack size or increases the amount of XP that they gain, you will get huge multipliers on the already juicy XP that you're getting from shrines and from these Untainted Chimerals or Maws or, again, whatever type of Untainted monster. And that is really, really strong. Like, there were some maps where I got 3 to 5% of a level in that run from 99 to 100. My approach was to buy a ton of these Allflame Embers. I think I bought like literally 25 for the run from 99 to 100, and I did farm several more as well. And then I used those every single time I had a bonus to XP, pack size, or monster rarity from the Necropolis League mechanic. They were, like I said here, about 10 chaos a piece, not in bulk. They are substantially more expensive if you want to buy them in bulk, like maybe 40 chaos each. Buying them one at a time, it sucked. It was the worst part of this experience, but even so, really wasn't that bad. Also, just to reiterate, map rolling is super important. You want to make sure that you don't have bad map mods. Monsters have increased attack and cast and move speed. That one is basically just banned. It's insanely dangerous, especially with monsters being near shrines. If they're near like an echoing shrine, they're getting double hits on everything, or they're near a crit shrine, they're getting crits on everything on top of that, like 80% more attack speed. It's just very, very bad. There are a lot of other things that'll be kind of just more based on your build. You know, if you're a build that's reliant on leech, you can't run any no leech maps. If you're not capped on chaos res, you probably should be, but you definitely wouldn't want to run a map like this that has increased Fizz as extra chaos and withered on hit, that kind of thing. Now, as for which map you should run, I played around with a few different maps. I played around with Dunes, I played around with Jungle Valley. Those both make sense. They are really good maps. I prefer Atoll because it shoves a bunch of shrines in your face right at the start. I will show that off in the demo. It'll be clear how good Atoll is, I think. You can immediately get 3 to 6 shrines in the first 30 seconds of the map. Or, I mean, 15, which means 5 to 12 buffs, and that's like an extra 150 to 360% extra XP right from the start of the map. So in terms of what you actually do in the map, you want to be careful with monsters around the shrines. They can be super deadly, especially before you have a bunch of buffs rolling. Now, part of the big positive of the fact that we're not using like any complicated league mechanics, we're taking domination and beyond, is we basically just kill everything in the map and then leave and do it again. It's really, really simple. It feels like Alk and Go. It's a lot more expensive than Alk and Go, but it's actually quite a lot more profitable than Alk and Go as well. So definitely some like real, just a very fun, enjoyable gameplay loop there. I would say I played pretty conservatively throughout the whole leveling process right until I was about at level 100, the point where I needed to play conservatively. Then I died several times, and that set me back by about 20 or 30 minutes. I would have gone from 99 to 100 in, I think, about 2 hours and 15 minutes if I had not died. 2 of those deaths were to me just being bad. I didn't realize that a map had minus max res on it, or that the boss was possessed until the boss killed me. He just one-shot me from full. That was my fault. I also got annihilated by a pack that was near an echoing shrine when the map had increased attack and cast speed. Also bad. The other 2 deaths were to good old American internet, and they both happened in the same map, which really stank because it set me back by an entire 12.5% XP due to the Omen of Amelioration triggering on the first one and not on the second one. And right, I had forgotten about that until I was dead a second time and sitting there looking at like 80% of the way left to go when I was like, all right, I had 4 maps left and now I have 8. Great. So if you die in a map, you might be better off abandoning it instead of continuing, because the second death will lose you a full 10% of your accrued XP. I was pulling about 2.5 to 3% XP per map in the run from 99 to 100, so each death with an Omen basically meant running 1 extra map. That's not too bad. That's only about 2 to 3 minutes, but that last death, the one that cost the full 10%, took an extra 4 maps to balance out, about, with a little bit of setup time, about 10 to 15 minutes of time to compensate for. Pretty irritating. But all told, I did level from 99 to 100 in under 50 maps, even with several bad deaths. I think that's pretty good. All right, now I'm just gonna run a map to show off how this goes, and I won't use a Teaching Scarab because I don't need to, but I will use 3 Domination Scarabs, and I'll throw in a Hunted Traders just to do it. We want to make sure we take Domination on the map device. Now, if you're running the 3 Domination Scarabs and you're getting 1 from the Atlas passive tree, that's 7, and then you're getting 3 from Domination on the map device, so you're getting 10 Domination Shrines, which is pretty crazy. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this. Oh, see, that's beautiful. So right here, we got a monsters grant 600% increased XP. I don't have any Untainted Embers anymore because I don't, I'm max level, but if I did, I would take an Untainted Ember, slap it right on there, and get 600% increased XP on top of the increased XP that I'm getting from those monsters. You do want to be pretty diligent about making sure that all of your bad mods are down toward the bottom, all of your good ones are up toward the top. One other final little thing I want to mention here about my Atlas passive tree, I probably wouldn't have had those deaths if I had taken the reduced haunted mod effect, and I think that is the smarter play. I took the increased mod effect, and I did recommend that in the tree because I wanted to farm as many corpses as possible, and that worked really well. It was definitely an act of hubris. It was overconfidence on my part, but I can live with that. All right, so first things first, you want to jump in, and if you're feeling up to it, you can just especially if you have phasing, you can just walk through the monsters and actually click all the shrines without getting without hitting any of them. Try and get all those shrines before you start killing dudes. And for the most part, with the Eldritch altars, I am usually taking the monster mods. The player mods tend to be a lot more dangerous. Now, I've mostly tried to set up my build to compensate for all of the player mods, to not just get instantly killed when I take bad player mods. But, I think the monster mods were pretty rewarding. I never got any divine shrines or anything, but I did get plenty of div card shrines that were pretty valuable, or div card altars that were pretty valuable, so that's good. I always path away from the boss, and the reason for that in Atoll is there's usually anywhere from 1 to 3 domination shrines over here on this left-hand side. And so now we're just going to clear out the map, pretty basic. I don't want to engage with the Syndicate. Nice, increased effect. Monster mod tier, that's good. It is something you kind of have to play by ear based on like how dangerous the map is, how scary the monsters are, and which shrine you're running up to as to whether you want to just try to run straight through all of them and grab that shrine, or if you want to kind of play it a little bit more safe and kill them from afar and then get the shrine once they're all dead. It's definitely the safer play. You know, you're never going wrong by killing them before picking up the shrine. But there's always a possibility that you could pick up the shrine and then kill him and have that extra XP. So that is sort of the gamble. Just going to finish off the rest of these monsters, and then I will finish at the boss. And then we'll be done. And in a toll, you know, you don't have to do a toll. But if you are doing a toll, you really do want to respect the boss. His damage is pretty substantial from the little jump explosion he does right there, especially if he's like possessed or, you know, you have any sort of increased boss damage mods. But as you can see, the move speed with the shrine buffs is absolutely buck wild. Just ridiculous. Zooming basically like a headhunter, and that is really why I've been enjoying this experience so much, as it does feel a lot like playing with a headhunter, except I'm able to use another belt as well, and that's pretty cool. All right, well, now that I'm level 100, I feel free to get really stupid and careless with it, because all it's going to cost me is a portal, and that's pretty great. All right, that's it. Good luck leveling to 100, and try not to die along the way. Thanks for watching. Bye.